Well, we're glad to be back with you once again on this Tuesday encouraging word. And I'm excited to have Alice back with us this week. It's been a couple weeks at least. So welcome back. I was thinking about Psalm 126 today, and this is a short psalm. I'm just going to read the whole thing, verses 1 through 6 of Psalm 126. And what is happening here is that the Judean inhabitants who had been exiled to Babylon because of their disobedience, they're now coming back to Judah, coming back to Israel, to the land that God had promised them after 70 years in captivity, after 70 years essentially in a form of slavery, cut off from God and cut off from his temple and really his plan for them as a nation. And so now they're coming back into that freedom that the Lord offers. And this is an expression of how they were feeling at this moment. It says in Psalm 126, when the Lord brought back the captive ones of Zion, we were like those who dream. Then our mouth was filled with laughter and our tongue with joyful shouting. Then they said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us. We are glad. Restore our captivity, O Lord, as the streams in the south. Those who sow in tears shall reap with joyful shouting. He who goes to and fro weeping, carrying his bag of seed, shall indeed come again with a shout of joy, bringing his sheaves with him. That's a good word. And what the exhortation here is found especially in verse 3. The Lord has done great things for us. We are glad. The people that have come back from captivity, that are back in the Lord's plan for them as a nation, they are being instructed to simply tell of what God has done for them. More than even being instructed, they desire to tell of the great things that God has done for them. And really, that's just what it means to witness. Sometimes we make witnessing or sharing our faith more complicated than it needs to be. But really, all you're doing is you're telling the great things that the Lord has done for you. If you are a Christian, you have a story of being delivered. You have a story of coming out of captivity into the freedom that the Lord offers, that freedom that comes through the forgiveness that you receive when you trust in Christ, and that freedom from death and from hell. You have a deliverance story if you are a Christian. So my question is, are you sharing the great things that the Lord has done for you? Think about your own story. Your story is different than anybody else's, different than mine, different than Alice's. Are you sharing that story and simply saying, this is what Jesus has done for me, and he can do this for you? You could have your own story of being brought out of captivity.
Very good. People who are full of joy are so infectious. It drives me to them. You have I feel a hunger to want to know, what are they thinking about? What are they feeling? Because I want to feel that too. My big smile just then was when Hope, my dog, was running with the biggest smile, just running right to me. And I thought she was about to hit the camera or run right into us. She brought me joy from her joy. And I was thinking about the greatest commandment. It's hard to find our joy sometimes. We talk about the things that we love. We talk about the things that make us happy. But the greatest commandment, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. And second to that is love your neighbor as yourself. So if we are loving the Lord our God with all our heart, mind, and strength, then we will be sharing him. And we'll be sharing him because we're loving our neighbor also. And I feel convicted about that. I don't know about you, but I think that that's an important question to go before the Lord with. Lord, help me to see all that you've done in my life. Help me to see you and experience you to the point where you're overflowing with your spirit to touch those I come in contact with.
Contagiousness.
Yeah.
That's a word about our faith. When we witness, again in verse 3 of Psalm 126, the Lord has done great things for us, not just telling your story. Yes, that's very important about what God has done, but also, as you're even alluding to, we are glad. Are you glad? Is you sharing your story of what Jesus has done for you coming from a place of joy and coming from a place of gladness? Because, sometimes we witness to others maybe out of a place of guilt, or maybe when we think about sharing our faith with others, sharing about Jesus with others, we are fearful. But, if we're simply telling a story of what God has done because we're glad, because we're joyful, then that's coming from a whole different place. And that just makes it easier, actually. So if you have a story of what God has done in your life and you're excited about it, well, it's just the natural step to go and to share that with others. And so I hope that does encourage you today as you think about what does it look like for you to tell your story of the great things that the Lord has done. Until next week,
Have a wonderful
God bless.